Thank you very much. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to give you some information about the current animal welfare discussion in dog breeding in Germany. And I will begin with the legal situation and its enforcement or lack of enforcement in some parts. And after that, I will outline the rules within our kennel club and give you some information about our current strategies. Yes, and regarding the legal situation, we have two relevant laws in Germany, mainly relevant laws. First, the Animal Welfare Act, which addresses animal breeding among many other things, and it prohibits breeding if the offspring are expected to suffer hereditary pain, suffering, or damage. And the second relevant law is for dog shows or dog-related events, also dog sports events, for example, and it prohibits the exhibition of dogs with hereditary conditions that cause pain, suffering, or damage. So it's pretty similar, and in principle, these are very reasonable but very vague regulations. And they are implemented very differently in practice at the moment, and I think not in a very sensible way. And this brings me to the main problem we have in Germany right now. We have a very different situation than the Finnish Kennel Club as we had before, because not very many dogs in Germany are bred in controlled breeding, and there's a huge lack of enforcement, particularly regarding the dogs outside of controlled breeding. So to give you some numbers. We have, I think, approximately 10.5 million dogs in Germany, and 38% of these dogs are mixed breeds, and 62% are purebred dogs. And of the purebred dogs, only 22% are bred in the German Kennel Club, which means that 78%, or as a result, 86%, if you include the mixed breed dogs, are bred outside of controlled breeding. And pretty much originate from completely uncontrolled sources. And in addition, unlike in most other European countries, Germany does not require mandatory registration in a national database. There are some regional rules, but outside of controlled breeding, many dogs are not even registered in any way. So these dogs are not monitored at all. And if we look at a specific breed, the difference is much more pronounced, even in the strongly brachycephalic breeds. These are not bred very much in our controlled breeding at all, but they are still very popular. As you can see here on the left side, it's in German, but I think everybody will understand. That's the most popular breeds in Germany at the moment. And nevertheless, the German authorities focus their regulatory enforcement very much on dog show regulations and not on dog breeding, especially outside of the Kennel Club, even though most of the relevant dogs, I would personally think, never appear at a dog show. Still, we have rules at our dog shows, at our Kennel Club dog shows, and we have a team of veterinarians performing health checks at the shows, and I believe it's a good system. I will say a little more about it later. Still, this is an example for excessive rules some veterinary authorities want us to use at our dog shows. Please don't try to read this. It's not only in German, it's also far too small. And such far-reaching requirements are imposed on many dog shows. This is a list I've taken from one of those dog shows, so that's more than 100 traits which we were supposed to check all dogs for before participating in a dog show. This includes morphological traits, genetic traits, hereditary diseases, and many of these traits would require numerous genetic tests and other examinations to assess properly, also including examinations in anesthesia. And maybe on the one hand, it's a German thing to make really long lists and try to make rules for everything. But on the other hand, this also makes dog shows basically impossible in the regions where these rules are used. And I think for some of the people involved, that's also the real intention behind some of these regulations. Here's another example. This is now focusing on one breed to give you a little bit more of a focused view. This is according to guidelines developed by a governmental working group, and these are torture breeding traits for the Labrador Retriever. Once again, regarding dog shows, and if you look at this list, a Labrador Retriever would need to undergo all these examinations listed here before being allowed to participate in a dog show or even in a dog show, sports event. And this group created similar rules for more than 200 breeds. And this has been removed due to strong criticism from various organizations, especially veterinary organizations. But there's a new version of these guidelines has been released recently. And according to my opinion, it's still pretty bad. So it still contains some errors and calls for mandatory examinations of clinically healthy dogs, including procedures that can be stressful for the dogs or require anesthesia. So overall, I believe that this is not a very sensible way to go and that the focus is on the wrong thing in Germany right now. So we have an expression for this. We call this a Feigenblatt, a fig leaf. I think this expression also exists in English, and it means that we have largely ineffective measures that so to cover up that there's no truly effective action being taken. And I think this would be in dog breeding and especially in the dogs outside of controlled breeding, which generally don't get any health checks or any other controls. So, like Lisa before, I would like to give you some information about the situation in our kennel club and what we do right now. So first of all, we of course have, like many other countries, many health screenings for our breeding animals, and this has existed for many years. It's depending on the specific breeds and encompasses a lot of different examinations made. And if we look at the strongly brachycephalic dogs, this of course also includes the respiratory function grading scheme, Cambridge testing, which is mandatory, has been mandatory for several years now for English bulldogs, French bulldogs, pugs, and also continental bulldogs in Germany before they can be bred or be shown at 1 hour of our big dog shows. And the results of our testing are quite similar actually to the ones made in Finland, though we use a different test. It's astonishingly similar. I think we also have 77% without Boas with Boas grade 0 or 1, so without any clinical signs. In the first 3 breeds and in continental bulldogs, we've made more than 100 examinations so far, but I think we haven't found one dog that was Boas positive, so that's very good. Yes, and as I mentioned before, at our dog shows, we have mandatory veterinary examinations before participating for certain breeds, and at the show, we also have veterinary inspections of randomly selected dogs and mandatory inspections for all dogs of certain breeds. So we make sure that only healthy dogs can be shown at our dog shows. And in addition, we currently also run like the Finnish colleagues outcross programs and also in similar breeds. So here, this is an example of our outcross program in the French Bulldog. And presumably we will start at least one more outcross program this year. Yes, as you all probably know, in these outcross programs, we have fresh genes from other breeds introduced into the otherwise closed gene pool in order to change problematic conformation and introduce healthy genes where genetic problems are fixed within the breeds. And I've also brought you some pictures of outcross puppies. So we've had 52 outcross puppies in our French Bulldogs last year, I think. Regarding that, our whole number of puppies in French Bulldogs is around 100 in the German Kennel Club. So as I showed you before, that's very low. That's quite a lot. And this is what our puppies from our French Bulldog outcross program look like. And I think they're quite adorable. And they also look like quite healthy dogs, I would say. Also brought some X-rays. So I'm repeating something we did not match our presentations before, but I've got some similar things than in the presentation before. So The upper picture shows a normal French bulldog spine, and you can see several vertebral malformations here, and the lower picture um, shows the spine of one of our outcross puppies without any vertebral malformations. One outcross program that has been approved recently is the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel outcross program. So I can't show you any puppies so far, but it also aims to address the high prevalence of Chiari-like malformation and syringomelia in the Cavalier King Charles. And yeah, I've talked before of the Continental Bulldogs, which of course emerged from an outcross project from the English Bulldog in Switzerland and in Germany. And this breed is free of the DVL2 gene variant, has a longer tail. And in our RFJS examinations, as I mentioned before, these are pretty much free of boas. And in 2024, to give you some numbers here, the German Kennel Club registered 5 English Bulldog puppies, but more than 400 Continental Bulldog puppies. So in our Kennel Club, these have largely replaced the classic English Bulldog. So what are our strategies for the future? Of course, we will continue mandatory health testing and breeding programs aimed at improving dog health in our breeds. And we will also adapt our rules to the latest scientific developments. So we've heard from Francesca Tomlinson before about the new study published in January on further testing in further breeds. And this is a picture from the study, and our VDH board has decided to extend the use of the Cambridge test to all high risk and moderate risk breeds. So these will have mandatory checks before breeding and before dog shows starting in 2027, in addition to the one we are already testing right now. And one final example, in Dachshunds, we have mandatory spinal X-ray screening for calcified discs, as well as genetic testing for the CFA12 gene variant. And overall, I believe that in our Kennel Club, we have already taken many effective steps. There's still some things to improve, of course, but I think we are taking steps to address health issues where they truly occur, and to improve the situation in Germany in general, it would be essential for these measures to be adopted outside, or similar measures to be adopted outside of controlled breeding as well, because we don't have such a large proportion of dogs being bred in our Kennel Club like our colleagues in Finland. And unfortunately, that's absolutely not what is happening it's our dog shows in our controlled breeding that are the main focus of the authorities, and these are burdened with more and more excessive requirements. And in my view, this targets the wrong people and does not improve the situation at all. And I hope that this will change a little bit, and that we will get some mandatory registration and some rules for the dogs outside of controlled breeding, and that we will be able to continue to have dog shows and dog sports events in Germany. And yeah, many dog shows in Germany have been cancelled at the moment. But maybe some of you will be in Dortmund, where we can have a show with some reasonable requirements still. Yeah, and this brings me to the end of my presentation. Vielen Dank für die Aufmerksamkeit. Thanks for your attention. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.